Good morning, children. Welcome to the lesson Nationalism in India, Part 3. In the previous part, we have concluded the topic movement in the Swaraj plantations. Now, in this part, we'll start with what were the reasons for withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement by Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhiji withdrew the non-cooperation movement because of the following reason. First was the movement was turning very violent in some of the places where he could not tolerate this. In February 1922, in Chauri Chaura, it is a place in Uttar Pradesh, people turned violent and while carrying out a strike or a rally, they set fire a police station on the way near Chauri Chaura. In this police station, 22 policemen were killed, in this incident. So Gandhiji was, very much against the violence. So this was the major reason for which he had to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. And the movement slowed down in the urban areas. So he thought that it was necessary to train the people of India in non-violent satyagraha. So in order to train, he thought that people require training. They want that it should carry on a non-violent way. The movement should be completely violence free. So he thought it is very much necessary to train the people in the non-violent satyagraha. So he withdrew the movement. Now next topic, what is the importance, significance of the non-cooperation movement? The first important thing is non-cooperation movement was a large scale, or you can see a mass movement. It attracted the common people from all social groups, from all communal groups. Non-cooperation movement and Khilafat movement went together. So this togetherness of both the communities promoted Hindu-Muslim unity. Third, peasants and the tribals movements became a part of Indian national movement, and this movement was a very large scale mass movement where every section of the society was involved, and moreover it was a non-violent movement, so it popularized the Gandhian idea of non-violent satyagraha. So some examples I'll give you to prove that the term Swaraj means different people to different things to different people. First example, the term Swaraj means self-rule. Actually, the term Swaraj means self-rule or dominion status for the Congress people. It is a type of government granted by the British in other self-governing colonies of Australia and Canada. Example, to peasants in Awadh, Swaraj means nothing but reduction in the taxes, abolition of Begar or abolition of forced labor, social boycott of oppressive landlords, troublesome landlords, dominating landlords. Second example, to the plantation workers in Assam, Swaraj means right to move freely in and out of the plantations where they were enclosed and they were retained along with the village from which they had come from. So they were living a kind of isolated life where they did not have any freedom. Third example, to the tribal peasants of the Gudam hills of Andhra Pradesh, Swaraj means right to enter forest, and they are permitted to collect the forest products, graze their cattle and giving up of forced labor. So these are some of the examples for which the Swaraj meant for different people. What is the aim of Swaraj party to set up? A party was set up which was called as Swaraj party. What was the aim? Swaraj party or the Congress Khilafat Swarajya party was set up by Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das in the year 1912. 1923. They were tired of the mass struggles and they wanted to participate in elections to the provincial councils that had been set up by the Government of India Act of 1990. They felt that it was important to oppose the British policies, oppose the British administration within the councils, argue for the reforms, and also demonstrate that these councils were not truly democratic in spirit. They also wanted to keep the anti-British spirit of the people alive, since non-cooperation movement was suspended for that time being. Now, the two developments in the politics towards late 1920s, what were the factors that shaped Indian politics towards the late 1920s? The first factor was economic depression, worldwide factors. Two major developments have taken place. Agricultural practices began to fall from 1926 and collapsed after 1930 due to the economic depression. As the demand for agricultural goods fell, exports declined, peasants found it difficult to sell their harvest and pay their revenue to the masters. Next important development was the Simon Commission. Simon Commission was appointed and came to India in February 1928, and it was appointed to look into the working of the Government of India Act of 1919 and to suggest further reforms in the system of administration. The members of the commission was all Englishmen and not a single Indian was included in it. So they have raised the slogans, the people of India have raised the slogans when the Simon Commission came to India as Simon go back with agitation. So this is about the Simon Commission which we have introduced about it, what were the features. The Indian Commission, that is the Simon Commission, which is also called as the Indian Statutory Commission. It was a statutory commission set up by the British known as by name Sir John Simon. It was asked to study the constitutional system in India and suggest the changes. Indians opposed the Simon Commission because all the members in the commission were English, not even one member was Indian. And the commission did not provide any hope of Swaraj to the Indians. Next comes the 1929 great event which is called as a Lahore Congress. The Congress session was held at Lahore in 1929 under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, and the following decisions were taken under his leadership in the session. Congress declared Purna Swaraj as its aim. The main aim of the Congress in the session, Lahore session of 1929 was Purna Swaraj. It was decided to celebrate 26th January every year as an Independence Day, that is Purna Swaraj Day. And it was decided to start the civil disobedience movement to win the Purna Swaraj. So another movement, very great movement, was about to be launched after 1929, that is civil disobedience movement to win Purna Swaraj. So the significance of Congress session 1929 is the freedom struggle or the freedom struggle of India. The Lahore session of Indian National Congress 1929 under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, two important decisions as it is taken, that is the attainment of complete independence. It was declared in the session that the chief goal of the Indian National Congress was attainment of complete independence, and another one was to launch the civil disobedience movement under the leadership of Gandhiji to get the complete independence. So these were the two important things which was discussed in the Lahore session. And to celebrate 26th January as an Independence Day all over the India, because of the significance of the same day, was chosen as a Republic Day of India. Next topic, Salt March or Salt Satyagraha. This is one of the very important topic in the history of India. Gandhiji decided to launch the civil disobedience movement by the first movement Satyagraha, that is breaking the salt law. Gandhiji and 78 of his followers or delegates started a march on foot from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi March it is called. On 6th April 1929, they reached Dandi. Gandhiji prepared salt by using seawater, broke the salt law and inaugurated the movement. The government imposed heavy tax on salt. Moreover, the production of salt was the monopoly of the government, so the price of the salt was very, very high. Therefore, Gandhiji opposed the salt law and he has broken the salt law. So the main features of civil disobedience movement are: on foot from Sabarmati to Dandi, he inaugurated the movement. People broke salt law in many places, not only in Dandi. Foreign goods were boycotted, liquor shops were picketed, government servants resigned their jobs, forest laws were broken by the tribals, people refused to pay the taxes everywhere, many leaders were arrested, and workers attacked government offices. So due to this violence, again Gandhiji called off the movement on 5th March 1931 under the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. He agreed to attend the second round table conference in London by signing a pact with Irwin, which is called Gandhi-Irwin Pact. He returned from London and finally called off in 1934. Relaunched the civil disobedience movement after returning from the London, where nothing fruitful was about for the Indians. Now, what are the differences between non-cooperation and the civil disobedience movement? People refused to cooperate with the government during the non-cooperation movement. People broke the laws during the civil disobedience movement. This is the first difference. Second, Muslims participated in large numbers in the non-cooperation movement, whereas Muslim participation was less in the civil disobedience movement. Third difference, no tax campaign was not there in non-cooperation movement. People refused to pay taxes in the civil disobedience movement. Now, which social groups participated in the civil disobedience movement? Let us see. First community is the rich peasants. Depression, fall in the prices affected them very badly. They demanded reduction in land revenue. Swaraj meant for them reduction of taxes. Poor peasants, lot of depression affected them very badly. They demanded again reduction in the rent. Swaraj means reduction of rent for them. Coming to the business classes, they demanded protection against the import of foreign goods. They wanted a rupee sterling exchange rate that would discourage the import. They formed the Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920. They also formed the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries. They gave financial help to the movement and refused to sell the foreign goods. Coming to the industrial workers, they were very poorly paid, very, very less wages, unable to work, working conditions were very miserable. For them, Swaraj means better wages, better working conditions for them. Railway workers, dockyard workers conducted strikes, hartals. Workers in mines wore Gandhi caps and took part in the rallies. So with this, I have told you about the differences between the non-cooperation and the civil disobedience movement. Now, why did difference, along with the differences, and how it has affected the different social groups in the society? Now, why did the social groups join the civil disobedience movement? Why? What are the reasons? In the countryside, the rich peasant communities like Jats of UP and Patidars of Gujarat were very active in the movement. Indian merchants, Indian industrialists wanted protection against the imports of foreign goods and a rupee sterling exchange ratio that would discourage imports. They wanted to end colonial control over the Indian products and the Indian economy. They joined the civil disobedience movement and they gave all the financial assistance and refused to buy or sell the imported goods. Another important feature of civil disobedience is large-scale participation of women. We should not neglect a very important role played by one section of the society, that is the woman section. They played a very important role and they have participated in a large scale. During Gandhiji's Salt March, thousands of women came out of their houses to listen to them. They participated in the protest marches, manufactured salt, and they picketed foreign clothes, liquor shops. Many went to jail. There were strikes by railway workers in 1930, dock workers in 1932. 1930, thousands of workers in Chota Nagpur tin mines were Gandhi caps, participated in the protest rallies and boycott campaigns. So this is very important to keep in mind the role of women. Next, rich peasants communities joined the civil disobedience movement. Why did not they join when it was relaunched after the second round table conference in 1932? In the countryside, rich peasants communities like Patidars of Gujarat, Jats of Uttar Pradesh joined the movement. Being the producers of commercial crops, they were very hard hit by the trade repression and the falling prices. As their cash income disappeared, they found it impossible to pay the government revenue demand. So again, why did the poor peasants join the civil disobedience movement? Why was the relationship between the poor peasants and the Congress remained uncertain during the civil disobedience movement? The poorer the peasants were not just interested in the lowering of the revenue demand. Many of them were small tenants cultivating land and they had rented from the landlords. As the depression continued and the cash income decreased, the small tenants found it difficult to pay their rents. They wanted to unpaid rent to the landlord to be rented. So they joined a variety of radical movements often led by socialists and the communists. Congress did not want to upset the rich peasants and the landlords and was unwilling to support no rent campaigns of the poor peasants in most of the places. So the relationship between the poor peasants and the Congress remained uncertain. Why did the business class support the civil disobedience movement? Why did the industrial working class not participate in the civil disobedience movement in the large numbers? Indian merchants and the industrialists wanted protection against the imports of foreign goods and a rupee sterling foreign exchange ratio that would discourage the imports. They wanted to end the colonial control over the Indian economy. They joined the civil disobedience movement and gave financial assistance, as I told before also, and they refused to buy and sell the imported goods. Most businessmen came to see Swaraj when the colonial restrictions on business would no longer exist. Trade and industry would flourish without constraints. As the industrialists came closer to the Congress, workers stayed aloof. The Congress was reluctant to include workers' demand as a part of the program of struggle. It felt that this would alienate industrialists and divide the anti-imperial forces.